Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for Chainsaw Man Volume 1. And I've been interested in the anime, and this was also recommended to me by Boba Fettuccini, and I was really glad I read this one. It really gave me kind of a jumping on point for this, and I can understand why people are so excited for this. And now, granted, I would recommend people read this. However, it's definitely scary and bloody and kind of crazy, but I do like the character work and the world setup that is in this manga, and I can't wait to see what they do with it in the anime. So, our main character that we're introduced to is Denji and his little chainsaw dude, let's see, Pochita. A little chainsaw dog. Oh, that's cute. And the thing is, he's a devil hunter, and he is making up for the debts of his father, who died. And he goes nuts. He sold a kidney, sold an eye, sold one of his nuts, and he's got 38 million 40,000 yen in debt. And he pretty much hunts devils to make that money up, and we see him kind of kill this tomato one, and see that his rewards are we do it. He does it for this kind of yakuza dude to get stuff for the black market. It's like, all right, but then of course it takes out all this stuff, and he's barely surviving. But he's got his dog, and he's got his dreams and everything. I mean, this dude says, "Hey, I'll give you 100 yen to eat this cigarette," and he actually does it, but then spits it out because the dude's just kind of making fun of him and kind of just drives off. It's like, you asshole. And we see that he's in this really crazy shack kind of situation, and is just eating barely anything to kind of survive. And it's just nuts that this dude's like, "Oh, the dude hung himself, so I'm gonna make you do it, or I'm gonna kill you." It's like, fuck you, man. Let's see here. But then, of course, he kind of runs into the little chainsaw devil and Fushida, and the thing is, he's kind of bleeding, and devils can heal with blood, so he kind of makes a contract with him. He bites him and takes the blood. They'll save each other because they don't want to die. And we see that he starts killing devils and utilizing it. It's really crazy of how he's able to kind of hold the little chainsaw dog to kill stuff. It's nuts. But we see that he's also kind of coughing up blood because his mom had a heart condition where she died coughing up blood. Well, his yakuza dude comes to him at the night and says, "Hey, we got this devil for you to kill," and they kind of don't see it. This dude's been grateful, calling him an obedient dog, and then he pretty much gets stabbed and ripped apart by him because they saw how much stronger he was with Puchita, and they got taken over. They wanted the devil's power, and they got taken over by pretty much a zombie devil. And it's like, yes, always be careful what you do for power, you dumb fuckers. And they're all pretty much zombies, and they all pretty much rip them apart. And he tries to kind of get out of there and tries to help Pachita as well. He's like, he was just dreaming of a normal life was enough for him, and he doesn't even get that. It's like, god damn, dude. And it sucks because him and Pachita pretty much get hacked apart and put into a dumpster. And you're like, no. But then we see that some of his blood goes into the dog's mouth, and we start seeing their kind of way together. It's like, oh, that's kind of cool. His only regret would be Pochita, because you'd starve to death or get killed by another devil hunter. I heard some devils can take over dead bodies, and that if he dies, he wants Pochita to take over his body. And that he'd want him to live a normal life and die a normal death. It's like, even all of the shit that he's gone through in his life, he's still thinking of his friend. It's even if it comes to that kind of worst thing, it's like, god damn, that's character there. Now, granted, it does get balanced out as the story kind of progresses, and you're like, okay, he's got some good stuff, but he's also needs to chills out on certain kind of things. Make my dreams come true for me. As we then see that Pochita starts putting him back together and pretty much becoming his heart and kind of making him whole. And he's asking if he took over his body. He's like, oh, okay, but then we see Pochita talking to him, which is a new kind of thing. And he's like, I've always loved listening to you talk about your dreams. This is a contract. I'll give you my heart in exchange. Show me your dreams. And it's like, that's an interesting contract. Now, granted, his dreams are pretty much like very mundane to like you or I, and trying to be like, you just want to live a normal life, but sometimes that's just enough for people. And then we see like him screaming out Pochita's name, and that his wounds are gone, and that he sees he has the ripcord in his chest now, and he's freaked out and just like sad that his buddy's dead. So the zombie devil's like, huh, fuck that, cut that dude to ribbons, eat him. And he then starts trying to figure out, it's like, huh, maybe those guys were the same as me. And he's like, I should have been happy as long as I had Pochita, but I still dreamed of a better life. Oh, I get it. Everybody dreams. You can't help it. Then dreaming's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, but if you're going to get in our way, then die, as he then rips it, and we see him do the stuff becoming Chainsaw Man. As he then rips apart, we see this, like, brilliant page. I mean, that's fucking beautiful there. Like, granted, it's gross and gnarly and fucked up, but god damn, like, it showcases what he is capable of to rip through these zombified motherfuckers. And then, oh shit, did the little thing take over your body? You're one of us, right? As he then launches himself, he's like, nope. As, god damn, look at that. Punches through the eyeball, man. That's fucking gnarly. And you see more blood splattering and everything, and just taking at the rest of him. Then pretty much being like, you're all devils down to your hearts. It says I get paid to be a devil hunter. I gotta kill devils dead. And he's like, if I kill every last one of you, it's bye-bye debt. And I'm like, yep. That's one way. I mean, granted, I would have assumed that they would pretty much be completely and utterly screwed over once they were taken over by the zombie devil, so if they didn't keep any accurate records, and if you were just a kind of podunk little under-the-table kind of thing, you'd be pretty much free. So it's like, alright. And then we see that somebody's talking about beating them to the punch, and talking about how he has a peculiar smell of him not being a devil, or like a human or a devil. And he then asks her to hold him, as she does, and he like melts away back to normal. And we see that he's human, and that this one dude's like, hey, is he possessed? And she's like, no, this isn't normal possession. And they evidently were here to kill that zombie devil, and that they're public safety devil hunters. So evidently there's different kind of levels of devil hunters. So it's like, okay, that's actually kind of cool. And that he has two choices. Be killed by me as a devil, or be kept as me as a human. And that she'd keep him as a pet and give him food and everything. And she's like, oh, I'll give you all this kind of stuff. And it's like, it's a dream come true. As she then pretty much drives him somewhere. He's, of course, hungry, so they kind of stop. He's like, I'm in love with her. And he's just pretty much getting into kind of like a better kind of lifestyle. And they're pretty much getting ready for some udon. But somebody comes in yelling that their daughter was taken by a devil. So she asks what his name is, and he supplies it. And she's like, alright, I don't want my noodles to get soggy, so I'm going to have you take care of that. And you don't get to say no. And he's like, alright, yes, ma'am. It's like, they euthanize useless dogs. It's like, okay. So he's pretty much in a similar kind of situation. It's like, ooh. And, by the way, we have to look also at her eyes, because her eyes are kind of freaky and kind of crazy. Not kind of like normal that we see from others, so that might be something that we'd want to look into as that goes on. So he goes in, he at first thinks that everything's okay, that the devil isn't bad, kind of like his dog, Pochita kind of situation, However, he gets pretty much lulled into a false sense of security, and it's like a muscle devil, and is pretty much trying to like kill him and mess with the small child. And he's like, fuck that noise, rips it, and goes and takes him down. Now, however, we start learning why he starts getting kind of weak after he transforms. It's because of, okay, let's see. You see these like chainsaws that are coming out of his arms? He loses a lot of blood, so it severely weakens him. He has to be careful in how he utilizes this power, which I'm like, okay, very good weakness and kind of drawback thing. And he's like, oh, smells good, that she smells good. He loses too much blood, as they kind of explain. I'm like, all right. Let's see. He then starts talking about, she's like, how did your body end up like that? And then talks about how the dog became his heart and everything. And she says that the friend is still alive inside of him. Your body has two scents, human and devil. And he can't feed himself, so she goes and feeds him his noodles and all that, as they then drive to the... And he asks what kind of guy, what's her name? Let me see. Makima, and that asks what kind of guys she likes, and of course she says guys with his kind of name. He's like, oh shit. So she pretty much knows how to kind of like play him. Now granted, I don't know if she's being sincere or not, since this is only like the first volume, but we'll kind of see how this goes. Taking him to the Devil Hunters HQ in Tokyo with nice impressive building there. Let's see here. You get a lot of paid days off, the best benefit packages. And then he's thinking work together with her, and he wants to do like the bad stuff. So we see like his perverted side. It's like, but he only dreamed that he would be able to do stuff with like a girl or whatnot. So I kind of understand it, and we'll kind of see how crazy his perviness goes. He gets a uniform, pretty much gets paired up with this Aki Hayakawa dude, and he's like, no, damn it. And he takes him to an alley and pretty much beats the shit out of him and tells him to pretty much fucking leave. That he doesn't have, like... the only people that are able to get through this job are those with strong convictions. He's like, oh, you only became one because you got your eye on Makima. And that then I was right to beat you up. And then he's like... just, like, fucking... knees the shit out of his balls. Like, his go-to attack is just like groin attack, balls and shit. It's like, god damn, he does not give a shit. But see, he has always been in a survival kind of mentality, so I get going for the thing that will take someone down first. It's like, yeah, it's a shallow reason, but I'm willing to die to keep living like this. But he's like, my life isn't mine alone. The dude still keeps trying to beat him, but he just keeps attacking his testicles. And he's like, no, I'm not giving up. He tries to lie that a testicle devil attacked him. He's like, no, fuck that. It's like, all right, I hope you two get along because I'm going to put you in a squad. And the dude's like, why do you keep adding weirdos? So evidently this is this strange kind of eclectic group that, you know, always happens in certain kind of stories. But when you put weird, crazy kind of people together, those can sometimes make the best kind of stories. And I'm like, okay, we'll see how this works. And then she, of course, like, brings up, like, what makes him special and why he's in this, and kind of, like, toots his own horn and all that. And she's like, if Denji ever quits or disobeys, he'll be put down as a devil, and it means we'll be working together until death do us part. And then they pretty much just put him pretty much living with Aki. And he asks if Makima is a bad person. But evidently, Aki owes his life to her as well. Like, he's like, I want to hug her again. I definitely think that there's different kind of facets of her, so we'll see how this goes. And then we see pretty much just him being kind of like a slob, but the thing is, he was never in a position to understand manners and how to live with other people. He was barely surviving on his own. So him being messy and crazy and kind of weird kind of works. even though it is pretty much throwing the dude for a loop. Then they get pretty much that there's a fiend, so they go kind of deal with that. And we see this one pretty much eating this bird kind of thing. He's like, all right, transform and take it out. But he just chops its head off with an axe. It's like, hey, I could have been like this, and I didn't want it to be super painful. I wanted it to be a painless death. And this is where we start seeing different kind of sides. The prejudices against devils, mainly for, okay, Aki's family was killed by devils, and he's like, the cops down there, their jobs are to protect people, so he's not going to give them any inch. He wants them to suffer as much as possible, so fuck him. I mean, granted, I don't like bullying kind of people, and I understand where his hatred is coming from, but transferring that trauma on other people ain't cool with me. He's like, if there are devils I could be friends with, then yeah, I do, because I don't have any friends. And then he's like, I'll remember those words. And then we see that Denji had another reason why he didn't want to go super duper Chainsaw Devil, because there were pervy magazines and he didn't want to get blood on them. So, yes, he did something good, but was also like, yes, sexiness confirmed. I'm like, okay, it works comedy-wise for me. I'm like, all right, the tone does, like, I could understand why people would be like, hey, the tone's kind of weird on this one. However, I think they're doing a good job of handling the seriousness with its own kind of comedy with it. And then he's still thinking about, like, his dreams and everything. He gets to bathe every day, eat good food, be close to a pretty girl and all that. And they're talking about other dreams and goals, like the Aki dude betting his ultimate goal is a revenge thing for the guys below is protecting their families. What's Makima's thing? And then he's like talking about wanting to touch boobs. It's like, alright, kid, I get it. And that's his goal and everything. He's got to pay attention as he is then buddied up with somebody who we learn is Power, who we I'd seen this person with the horns and everything like that, and I'm like, okay, so she's a fiend, and they're like, her name's Power. I don't give a shit. Of course, he focuses on her breast. He's like, all right, looking forward to working with you. I'm like, ah, sweet Jesus, dude. So they go on patrol, and he's got to pretty much like handle her, and she's like nutty as shit, and she wants to kill shit, but he's like, just be cool. And then he's just pretty much ruminating on trying to touch boobs. Let's see here. So they got to patrol in places with little traffic because Power's got horns. Let's see. And since it's an experimental squad, it's got to deliver results. Higher ups might break them up at any point. And that if it is, they'll be dead. They pretty much have trouble trying to find any kind of devils. And Power's pretty much like, yeah, the reason is because everybody's like scared of me. Let's see. And then he's thinking that like Hayakawa set him up and everything, but then of course she smells blood, and we see that she's a blood devil, and she's able to make a giant hammer out of her blood, and then we see evidently what is a civilian devil hunter being like, yeah, I got this thing right here, sea cucumber, and then she smashes it, and she's like, ah! Like, this is a great one right here. It's just like the insanity of her, like, I killed it! I did it, the glory is mine! But then we pretty much get a rundown that, like, yeah, it's considered obstruction of justice if a public safety hunter kills a devil a civilian hunter is already, like, engaged with. And that you normally get arrested for that. And then, of course, Power's trying to pawn it off on Denji, and he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? She gives us a kind of lowdown that she's a blood devil. She tries to pin it off on him. They're kind of like fighting each other. It's like, I don't care whose job it is, whose fault it is. I want to see big things from you two. And we then see a close-up on her eye as she's talking to Power, and she's like, all right, I'll be okay. Then we see that she's talking about a cat and everything. Denji's ruminating that I can have soft drinks and shit. And she couldn't get her Meowie back. She thought it was dead, but she wants to get it back from this devil. And then for a cat, that's stupid. I'd do anything to touch some boobs, though. Sure enough, I can't comprehend humans. Oh, but if it was a dog, I might get it. And then she's like, what if I let you touch my chest if you got my cat back? It's like, alright. That pretty much just gets it for him. And he's like, I'll murderize that devil. As they then pretty much go out that way. And it's funny because she thinks they're talking about, like, Pochita and all that, and she's thinking, oh, you saying that, like, he's in your heart, it's whatever, it's pathetic. It's like, no, he's literally his heart. Then we also see that Makima is talking to, like, the higher-ups that other places are utilizing, I guess, devils as pretty much, like, weapons or whatnot, or as dogs. There's evidently some kind of American matter that the Soviet warhawks are getting pissed off over, using devils for military purposes, and that they're praying that, like, devils remain Japan's only enemy. And of course, it starts to make sense why they would be utilizing a squad like this to see how devils would be utilized. And that she says, like, one's promising, one's interesting, bringing up the puppy. And then we get some more interesting kind of stuff about devils, and that devils have names, and that those names can denote power or whatnot. And she brings up an example, like a coffee devil wouldn't have... It would be weak because it's not a scary mental image. Now, if there was a car devil, that'd be another matter. Denji can turn into the chainsaw devil. And then Aki's like, okay, we'll have to see how that kind of works out. So we have tier systems about what each devil is kind of linked to. So that's an interesting kind of thing, and I'll hope to see what kind of goes on with that later on in different kind of stories. And then how that kind of affects personality-wise. Like a zombie devil is kind of scary and kind of nutty, but that sea cucumber one was like, what? And so was the tomato one. They're kind of easier ones to get through. What happens when you start getting into various different kind of other ones? And a chainsaw one, that would definitely have a scary image, so having that on your team is good. So we see Power bring him to this house, and she pretty much tries to, like, knock him out, and succeeds, and pretty much brought the Bat Devil a human for blood, and it evidently had lost its arm, and starts sucking on Denji's blood and says that it tastes disgusting. But he regenerates, and he's like, I'm gonna go eat some children. It's like, fuck you, man. And she's like, I can't believe you took my story for truth. Humans are foolish kind of shit. It's like, yeah. But he at least tried. And I'm like, I give him props for that. And it's like, no. And then, of course, she wants her Meowie back, and the bat's like, eat my ass, and eats the cat whole. Whole, I might add. And then eats, and we then see her kind of story as she had pretty much taken care of the cat, got it all fat and everything like that, and since it was injured, took the cat hostage to pretty much utilize her for it. And then she's like, oh, I can't pet my Meowie, and then she gets stuffed down as well. And he's like, oh, I gotta rinse this thing out of my mouth, this taste out of my mouth. And Denji's like, fuck you, give me my boobs back. And then he, like, sucks on the blood, rips the cord, and gets ready to, let's see. He also sees, like, how he explains how he feels about, like, Power and Meowie and Pochita when he had lost Pochita that one time. And then we see this crazy fucking scene where he starts transforming into the chainsaw and starts beating ass as that ends. It's like, God damn, that's good. So, I overall really enjoyed this because I liked how it kind of set up the world. There's these devils. Denji is in this shit situation, and granted, there could have been just enough for them to like set it up of like this boy and his dog doing all this kind of stuff, but then you go into the thing where they then become one entity and how that kind of affects and how that changes things, and then getting us rolling into more of the larger world of the public safety devil hunters and everything like that, and how there's various different kind of levels. This, I really like this because it did a lot of heavy balancing. It introduced the characters that were going to be important and introduced the world that's going to be important and gave us world building without heavy exposition dumps. I was entertained throughout everything of what was going on and didn't feel that like, oh, this is the author having to vomit information for me that is needed. It's like, okay, here's this. Here's a new thing here. Here's a new thing there. As we learn, okay, Denji's got to watch out because he's pretty much like a dog to this person. And that was the beginning. And I am interested to see how that motif kind of continues going forward and how he's able to hopefully change stuff going on with it. Now, granted, I know his goals are kind of like, I want to touch boobs. And granted, it escalated from I want to be into a normal situation to the boobs. But if he does stuff and tries to help people and be nice to people and devils and all that and see kind of what goes on and happens from that, I'm interested in that journey. I want to see how he kind of goes further on with that and to see what's going on behind the scenes in the world as well. So I'm really glad I read this. I can't wait to see what they do with the anime and with other volumes of the manga as well. So those are my opinions on the volume. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.